I don't know if this part is actually like live yet. It's like still setting it up on my screen, but it says in Zoom that it's, oh, there we go. All right, cool. So I am going to share, before we get started, I'm going to share the create task video that we put out just recently. And I'm going to try and share it with sound, and we'll see how that goes. And never mind, it doesn't want to let me do that. So gonna do it without sound. It's a little unfortunate, but oh well. All right.
You could provide some audio dubbing over it, like sing, do some humming.
I think I'll pass on that one. I don't know if anyone wants to hear me sing. I definitely don't want to hear me sing. Some of these creative tasks are really fantastic. And some of the really fantastic ones didn't even get into like didn't become winners, quote unquote, which is sad. But we had some pretty good creative tasks this time, just like always, but I think even better this round. Let's see, and yeah, so that's that. All right. So I'm gonna stop sharing, and we're gonna start the Q&A here. All right. So, hello everyone. Welcome to the last Q&A of the week. Woohoo! We got through all of them except this one. So, yeah, thank you for joining. And teachers, if you want to ask questions for your students, please post them into the YouTube chat, and I will ask our student team here those questions as they pop up. Yeah, we'll start by introducing ourselves. Please mention your majors and what you do for CS Academy, just so everyone knows. Yeah, I'll start. So my name is Elliot Haney. I'm a staff member on CS Academy and have been for the last year and a half. I joined the project 3 years ago when it started, when I was still a student at CMU. I was a math major, a computer science minor, and I work on content. I lead the content team, so exercises and stuff. Yeah, Johnny, can you introduce yourself?
Yep. Hi, I'm Johnny. I'm a third-year computer science major here at CMU, and I'm minoring in music technology. I'm from Bethesda, but I'm living in Texas right now with my older brother because of the quarantine situation. And I joined CS Academy my freshman summer. I was doing testing and quality assurance under Elliot for a while, and then I sort of switched over to the teacher outreach and professional development team. So that's what I've been doing. I'm not officially on the team actually this semester, but I've still been helping out a little.
Yeah, my name is Andrea Ito. I am a sophomore majoring in mechanical engineering. I joined CS Academy over this summer, and I've been on the web development team. Right now, I'm in California, quarantine too.
Hi guys, I'm Karen. I'm also a sophomore. My major is cognitive science and my minor is computer science. I'm from Albuquerque, New Mexico, and that's where I am right now. And I'm part of the outreach and teacher training team, which I joined starting this past summer.
Awesome. Thank you all for joining us tonight. All right, so while we're waiting for any questions in the chat, I'm just gonna ask a pre-prepped question. So why did all of you join ZoomU? Karen, can you start?
Why did I choose CMU? Was that the question?
Yes.
There were a lot of reasons. Primarily, I chose CMU because of the academic program. So we're very highly ranked in cognitive science and in computer science, which is the two things that I'm studying. And then I'm also very into like performing arts stuff. So I'm a dancer, I've done some theater, and I felt like it was a really cool just like cultural mix, I guess, for that, because there's like so many people that are really good at theater and so many people that are really good at technical fields, and it's just this really interesting mix of people. So I really like that. And then also I was actually born in Pittsburgh, so like going far away for college, it was nice to be going somewhere that like I was familiar with. So that was part of it too.
For me, when I was choosing colleges, I was looking at colleges strong in engineering, kind of like Karen. And so CMU was like one of the top colleges that I got into and like I really wanted to go to. And also when I came to campus touring for like after I got admitted, I really liked how people were super enthusiastic about like all their extracurriculars they were doing. They seemed to like do everything because they enjoyed it and not like for just the sake of it. So that really pulled me in.
For me, I knew I wanted to apply to a school with a good computer science program, so obviously CMU made its way to my list. And then more specifically, I liked a lot of things about CMU that I had seen, like things about the collaborative community, the kind of things that happen on campus, like carnival and things like this. And then my other big thing was I really liked what I had seen. I hadn't actually visited, but what I had heard about the city of Pittsburgh. Like, for example, they have a really good orchestra and things like this that were important to me. And as a last note, I actually first heard about it was my mom actually went here for undergraduate. So that helped too.
We have a question in the chat it's regarding remote working and how you guys are managing that and any tips you have for students who are trying to learn remotely. Is that Johnny?
Yeah, so remote work has definitely been tough. Tips for it. I feel like my biggest thing that I've needed to do is just still try to stay connected with my peers in my classes. So I've kind of made Discord servers or group chats of some form with all of my friends who I share classes with, or just people I've met through those classes, and trying to just like actively talk about course material and talk about homework and things like this. Because personally, I find it really hard to work and study if I feel isolated. And so for me, talking to other people who are in the same class is a big thing for me.
Right. Remote work is definitely kind of tough for me. I think living at home too, it's just like a different mindset to be in. So just like trying to distinguish between like working and like just like having fun, like doing other things is really important for me. And then also like putting in that like some kind of boundary that separates academics and then like personal life.
Those are both like very good pieces of advice. I definitely agree with the like social part that Johnny was talking about. I would say like make sure you're reaching out to your friends, just trying to do Zoom calls, coming up with creative things to do together over Zoom, because that makes things so much better. I have like a very packed social calendar currently, so it really helps prevent me from feeling isolated, which is really helpful. And then also, I would say like pick a good space to study and kind of like separate the space where you're studying from the space where you do other things. I just feel like that helps you get in a better mindset and be more focused when you're in that specific location. And then it kind of helps you get less distracted. So kind of similar to what Andrew was saying, like splitting your personal and like school or work life.
Yeah, those were great answers. That's a great question too. Working remote is not easy for sure. Okay, so next question will be, what are some things that you do at ZoomU that aren't your coursework and aren't CS Academy? And this could be now, or if like there wasn't, it wasn't remote, if anything that you would normally do. Karen.
So I last year I kind of tried out a lot of different things, but definitely dance. I'm part of the dance group at school, so that's a big thing. And then very recently I actually joined a sorority, so that's like where all this social stuff is coming from, but that's been like a really big thing recently. And then also last year I was doing some tutoring for children in higher needs schools in the Pittsburgh area, which I'm not doing now because we're remote, but that was something else that I was doing.
For me, I'm in the school's like robotics club and rocketry, so that's kind of like more the more STEM-sided activities. I'm also in JSA, which is a cultural organization for like Japanese people and like people interested in Japan. So that's like more my social side. I also wanted to try out like all university orchestra this year, but since COVID, it's kind of hard. But I think I'll give it a try next semester if I can.
For me, I definitely think Karen has the right approach of trying things out. My freshman year, I tried quite a few things out, including the fencing team, which was quite fun. Just I had never fenced before, total whim. I ended up actually not continuing with it, but I'm definitely glad I did it. I went to like one tournament my freshman year, and that was really fun. But as far as things I still do, I think the main community I'm involved with at CMU is the Jewish community. Um, Before coming to CMU, I had never really engaged much with my Jewish background. And so actually at first I was kind of tentative about trying to reach out to that community because I was worried I wouldn't fit in. But actually it turned out nothing could really be further from the case. So I'm really happy that I've been able to find like a home on the CMU campus in that community.
All right. So why did you guys get into coding? Why did you start learning how to code to begin with, Johnny?
Yeah, I was lucky to have a bit of an early start. We had programming classes at my middle school, so that's how I first kind of got into it. We did like Scratch and then even a little bit of Python. And so that meant going into high school, I kind of knew I was interested more in doing this programming thing and seeing what else there was. And my high school had AP Computer Science, so I took that early on in 10th grade. And that was kind of my story early on, at least how I got into it. The problem was after 10th grade, there was actually nothing left to take at my high school. So there was this lull period where I kind of forgot about programming. But then when college applications came around, I kind of realized that over my years of high school and a little bit before that, what I had enjoyed the most was actually the programming and the computer science classes. So that's what I ended up deciding to pick for my major.
For me, I don't think I had too much exposure early on. So during middle and high school, it was mostly like me kind of self-learning through like Scratch and like Khan Academy. So I knew about it, but I never considered it as like a major or like a job. But then in college, I think last semester during spring, I took the first like intro programming course in Python, and I really enjoyed that. So I decided to take like the next course this semester and also like join the CS Academy. So I've really enjoyed it since.
So my story is kind of similar to Johnny's, but I took my first computer science class when I was in middle school. We were actually programming using NetLogo, I believe, which was very interesting. Kind of like unique choice for that. But I learned a little bit of NetLogo. And then I didn't take another programming class until my junior year of high school when I took APCS Principles. And Yeah, that was all I did before coming to college. So I didn't have a whole lot of exposure, but I knew that I really liked it, and I found the problem solving process very like rewarding and fun. I've always just liked like logic puzzles and just those kinds of things. So I knew that I liked it, and then I took more when I got to college.
Karen, I'm gonna jump in because I'm curious. What led you to major in cognitive science?
Sorry, what'd you say?
What led you to major in cognitive science?
Why did I choose to major in cognitive science? Okay, it's a little bit of a long story, but I guess so. My interest in the brain first started actually when I watched these two TV shows that were about the brain. And I thought that was super interesting. So that was my senior year of high school, actually, that I figured that part out. And then I was kind of just randomly doing some research online, actually, and discovered that cognitive science is a mixture of like cognitive psychology and computer science. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's literally so perfect for me. And then I actually did an internship like the last month of my senior year of high school with a neuroscientist at Stanford. And that like really solidified for me that it was like something I was interested in. So it's like a kind of a long story, but yes, that's the gist of it.
We have a question about teacher support. Just wondering what the process for teacher support is. What does that generally look like?
I'm assuming this is about fresh stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Yeah, basically we use Freshdesk and we can just kind of log on. All the support tickets come to like one central location, and then we just sign up for the tickets that we want to answer. We try to go from earliest to latest so we get people's questions answered who have been waiting for the longest. And yeah, it's really, you pick which questions you want to answer and then you answer them.
Anything to add onto that?
I'll add, I think one of the things that's cool about the teacher support is that like pretty much the whole team contributes to it. So I think that's something that's just kind of neat, is that it's pretty like I don't know what the right word is, like a community effort of getting the questions answered. And so everyone's contributing something different, which I think is nice.
Yeah, and it's something that never ends. It never ends. There's always more questions, but I think our student team does a good job, and we try and make it fun as much as we possibly can. All right, so a question here. Is coding a good course of study for getting a job? Johnny.
I guess, yeah. So the short answer is yes. So I believe like computer science and related majors are like one of the top growing like majors demanded as far as new jobs. So like definitely, and even beyond that, like a lot of new jobs these days just it's useful to have coding even if you're not directly like in some kind of software engineering role. So definitely, like it's not only in terms of just the amount of jobs available, also in terms of nice metrics like the average salary, and then also just when you major in computer science or something like that, it's so applicable to any field that you can pretty much still go into any sub-discipline, like if you're interested in some kind of combination with another subject. So I would say yes to pretty much all accounts.
Right, I think Johnny pretty much covered most of things. Just to add on, I feel like if you really like coding or you're good at it, it's like definitely something that you can consider. But also like I feel like you shouldn't be pressured to get into coding just because it feels like so there's like such a huge demand in the job market or something, because I feel like there's definitely other like paths that you like.
Also, like,
Oh, I think Karen is lagging out a little bit. Oh,
there we go. I was like frozen. Yeah, but also like it's very interesting how computer science applies to pretty much any field, as Johnny was talking about. Something that I found really interesting since coming to college was the fact that it can even apply to like the humanities. Like computer science can go with history and it can go with English, and like I just think it's such a beneficial skill to learn, and you can really apply it in any field, regardless of whether that's like your main focus or if you minor in it or just take some classes in it.
Last thing, just to kind of add on to that, is even if you don't do a job that requires you to code, it's still useful in many cases to know how code works and know how algorithms work and things like this. Like, for example, there's a recent Supreme Court case, or kind of ongoing, that's like about sort of software engineering, and there's sort of this problem that a lot of people in the legal area don't necessarily know the software. So one of my professors is kind of he's been writing the amicus briefs and things to try to inform the courts, but like it's definitely something that in any field you never know like when it might pop up.
all right. We have some questions from earlier today that didn't get answered because we ran out of time. So I want to get to some of those. First part is, what is the hardest part of college for you? Johnny, I think you're up.
Okay. Hardest part of college for me has definitely been time management. So I was never particularly good at study habits, even in high school. I was always the start things on the last day, try to turn them in 1 minute before the deadline. And in high school, that can work, especially because teachers are very nice and lenient. And if you miss the deadline, maybe they'll be nice and work something out with you. In college, that doesn't fly, not only because the standards are higher for you in terms of expectations, but also because if you start something on the day it's due, you don't have enough time to actually finish that assignment. So it was definitely an adjusting process. My big problem has been if I am a avid procrastinator, and what happens is you procrastinate something, you manage your time poorly, and then you get very upset at yourself. I get very upset at myself for not managing my time properly. I get stressed out, and then that causes me to then want to procrastinate more because I panic. And so a big thing for me has been learning how to like forgive myself, move on, and just like if I procrastinate, then we just have to forget about that and start from where we're at. And so that's been my big growing like thing over college, is that learning how to forgive myself for mismanaging my time, because I think that's the biggest thing. Like I can't always expect myself to perfectly manage my time. So learning how to adjust is the biggest thing.
Mine is probably the workload, especially this semester. I think I overloaded in my classes. So CMU is like a college that's pretty lenient and like overloading and having students like select their own schedules. So depending on the major, like you can take a lot of courses, and it's especially hard like in the remote to ask for like help and to like get them, because it's like all in Zoom or like Piazza, which is like an online, what do you call it, like question asking platform. So like definitely trying to manage through online classes and like actually understanding the materials versus just like trying to get through the test is a hard balance to work through.
So my biggest challenge, I guess particularly for like last year when I had first started college, is that I'm a perfectionist. And so basically I was getting to this place where I was just spending like huge amounts of time doing these different projects, like trying to get them done perfectly and just not putting as much effort into making sure I was involved in other things, like other activities, you know, talking to people, like just hanging out with people. So I feel like, I don't know, that's a big thing. I would say definitely like make sure you go to office hours if you need help with something. Like don't be afraid to ask for help if you're stuck. And like prioritize other things. Like obviously prioritize your schoolwork first, but make sure you also, you know, prioritize somewhat like having a social life, talking to your friends, getting involved in other things you're interested in.
All right, a similar question, but maybe a little bit more fun to answer. What's your favorite part of CMU? Karen, I think it's your turn.
I've really liked my classes, honestly. Like, I think that's probably my favorite. I've had like some really great classes, some really great professors. So I think it's been really just enjoyable academically. So I guess my favorite classes, if you're curious, were cognitive psychology and also 15112, which is our like introduction to programming class.
Right, classes are definitely sometimes fun. 5112 is one of my favorite too. I'll say my favorite part is probably the extracurriculars. So like the ability for students to like do a lot of things outside of class, and also like our clubs, we have like opportunity to like use like circuits or machines that are not like accessible by ourselves, and it's just like fun to be able to experiment with those and try to make things on your own.
I think I'll say my favorite thing is the people in two senses. I've like met really amazing peers. Like I had a very tight group of high school friends that I thought I could never replace, and I'm still very tight with them. But like I found also people at CMU who are really amazing, and like just everyone I interact with, frankly, it's like awesome. The other thing in terms of people is also the professors. I've had like so many amazing professors, and it's in two aspects. Like one, like professors who like are really big names or have done really amazing things in their fields, and two, also teach professors who are really, really good at teaching. And the amazing thing is that actually intersects really well. So it's not a situation where there's a professor who like is really big name in research, but it's just like boring. Like actually all my professors have been both like really like I don't know what the word is, but like very prominent in their domain and also really good at teaching. So that's been amazing.
All right, this next question for Anju and Karen. Does being a female in your major change things or make things more difficult? And Anju, could you start us with this one?
Yeah, I feel like for at least for me attending CMU, like the gender ratio is pretty 50-50. So I've never found it like difficult or awkward to be in class. I hear that sometimes like that's a struggle like after college in the work field because some places are still like have a what do you call it, a big gender ratio difference. But um like through my college education, I've never had that difficulty. And yeah, it's just been, I've never felt like pressured because I'm a woman or something.
Yeah, I've had the exact same experience. Definitely CMU at least is really great for that. No struggle at all with it, my major or my minor, any of my classes. I do agree though that in the working world, potentially it's a bigger problem. Because when Anju said that, I was just reminded of that internship that I had, and I was doing a lot of coding for that. But I remembered it was like the company itself was very heavily male skewed.
All right, thank you for answering that question. We're gonna transition. We have a few questions about preparing for college and applying to college. So could you say what the most helpful activity that you did that prepared you for college? Talk a little bit about that. Karen, I think you're up first.
All right. I'm going to say I think the most helpful thing that I did was probably being part of the school newspaper. So I was a writer for like all 4 of my years of high school and then an editor for my last 2 years. But yeah, I actually wrote one of my like short essays for CMU about my experience in the newspaper. So that's why I'm thinking about it. But I think it was really helpful to develop like just collaboration skills partially because I was working with my co-editor and we were like brainstorming articles together and working on all these different projects. Also leadership because I was managing different writers who were writing for my section. So I feel like a lot of those skills were very important and kind of prepared me for college.
Mine would probably be, like activity-wise, it would probably be marching band. So I was in the school's marching band for all 4 years too, and then section leader for one of the years. I think just like being involved in extracurriculars and like actually like caring about them and putting time into it shows a lot to colleges that like you are able to like stick to something for a good amount of time and just like put energy into things other than just like grades or something. So I think that was definitely a big part for me.
Yeah, for me, also kind of music related, I guess technically curricular and extracurricular was doing my high school orchestra as I started on violin and switched to viola. And for me, a lot of good things came of that. One, because the class is so large that it lets you interact with a huge range of people, whereas normally class sizes are pretty small. And then also getting to go on these kinds of band trips and things like this. And then the other was the leadership skills from being a section leader has definitely been applicable, even though I usually don't really identify as like a leader type person. It's definitely been situations where I've used those skills. So.
All right, this question is, what advice do you have for high school students who are preparing to apply for college? So specifically advice for applying.
Yeah, so I think I'll limit myself to one, but there's definitely a lot I would want to give. So I think my biggest piece of advice is don't worry that much about where you go, which might sound a little weird because it is a big decision. But at the same time, like the majority of schools you could pick are probably schools that you would be happy at and successful at. And so I actually can speak about that from personal experience because in my senior year of high school, I was able to kind of concurrently enroll at the University of Maryland, which was my local home school. And so, of course, CMU was my reach school, but because I was taking classes at the University of Maryland and kind of in the Maryland community because I was spending half my time there, it was really nice during my application process because I was not worried about where I would end up because I knew I would be happy and successful and be satisfied in my classes at the University of Maryland. And so I think that there can be a lot of pressure on you. You got to find, the one school that fits you. Like there's only one wand per wizard or anything like that kind of thing. And so I think in reality that it's that you will be happy at most of the schools you could end up with, and you shouldn't feel an extreme amount of pressure to either find the one that fits you or find the most elite school and feel like that's the only one you can go to.
Right. I think what Johnny said is really valid. Picking one advice is hard. See, I feel like when you're actually choosing the colleges, going to the college and feeling like the campus culture and like the people there is really important because sometimes like you think that it's the right school and then you end up going, like you try visiting there and then you find out that like just the size of the school or the culture or the people doesn't fit you. So that's pretty important.
So I have some advice, I guess, more related to the college application process. But start early. Don't be like me. Because I like kind of pushed off all my applications super late just because I think I was nervous. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to write for these essays. I like want them to be like the best version of me. And I was just kind of scared to get started. I would say definitely just get started because you don't want to be cramming in all that work like very close to deadlines and stressing because your work won't like be as good when you do it then. And then also when you're applying, I guess make sure you've done your research about the different schools. And so in your application, you can say like specific things about why you're interested in that school in particular and show them like you're interested in them. I feel like that was one piece of advice that I got when I was in high school, and I thought that was really helpful.
Hey, one last thing I wanted to add was quickly just don't really try not to be like tactical about your extracurricular choices. Just like do things that you actually like to do. I think that will benefit you more in the long run in terms of your personal growth and happiness. And also colleges, like generally you can tell if it's something you're really passionate about. And also if you're doing like the most generic things because you think they look good on your application, it turns out there's tons of people who are also applying with those things on their application. So if you're doing something unique and that you're highly motivated in, that actually will help you more in the long run, at least in my opinion.
Okay. Next question will be why is it important to learn how to code even if you don't want to do any coding in your future jobs?
I'm not sure if it's me because I cut in at the end or if it's Karen. So I'll go because I'm talking. Um, so I think we talked a little bit about this sort of in an earlier question, but the big thing is that there's a good chance that no matter what you want to end up doing is that coding will either be directly useful to you or just problem solving skills and things like this that you learn from learning programming are going to be really applicable in whatever domain you're in.
Even if you're not planning on using coding at all, I feel like computer science is like the huge part of computer science is the thought process that goes into it. So I was talking to one like advisor for computer science, and he said that like for computer science, if you go to the extreme, you don't need to know how to code, but it's more about knowing the algorithms and like how things work behind it is what's important. So I think learning about like how you can think about efficiency and like ways of problem solving is a huge part that computer science can teach.
I don't think I have anything to add. I feel like that covered it.
All right. Can you guys talk a little bit about your favorite thing that you've done with coding, either like in a course project, coursework, or personal projects, anything along those lines? Just something fun with coding that you've done.
Okay, so for 15112, which is that introduction to programming course that I was talking about, we end up the semester by coding a term project for like the entire last month, almost month of the class. And yeah, so I'm gonna talk about that. For my term project, I coded this like meal planning app. And the reason I did that was because at home, my job was to like be the meal planner. So I would have to like literally get a calendar, write down what meal we were going to be eating every day for the month. And I was like, this is annoying. Why can't a computer do this? So I coded an app that did it. Basically, you just type in like the name of a recipe, you type in the ingredients, and then it'll generate this calendar that it follows certain restrictions. So like it puts hard recipes only on weekends. You won't have like 2 chicken dishes in a row, for instance. It like adds variety. And then it also generates an automatic shopping list using the ingredients that you put in, so you don't have to like figure out what you need to buy that week.
Hey, Karen, just curious, do you actually use it right now?
So the issue with that is that I still need to figure out how to efficiently like input the data into it in the first place, right? Because it would take so long to like type all the stuff in. And I was considering doing something, I don't know, like I think there's some different like modules that you can use to like scan text and read it in or something like that. But I didn't have time to figure that out as part of my term project, unfortunately.
Okay. For my project, mine's probably the 15112 term project too. What I did was I made a photo mosaic that can web scrape for images too. So like say you had a picture of your family and then for your keyword you had something like sky or like cat. Then it like goes to Google, like searches for all the images, not downloads it, but gets the link and then puts together this image mosaic based on like just like color and everything. So that's pretty cool.
That's a really cool project. I'm kind of envious of you all because I didn't take 15112, so I don't have a term project, and I kind of regret that still because I had AP Computer Science or AP, what's the word? Yeah, AP CSA. So I ended up not taking 112, and I still kind of regret that because I think I would have benefited from the programming fundamentals, to be honest, in retrospect. But as far as things I've still done that I'm proud of, I'm trying to think. I had, so during Carnival, which is usually in the spring in non-quarantine times, CMU has this large event called the Spring Carnival, and one of the things that happens is various organizations build booths, which are these like structures, and generally inside of the booth is a game. And so in my freshman spring, we made this game that involved like some kind of puzzle solving, and so I ended up writing like a what's the word, computer vision algorithm to actually scan and detect the puzzle, and I was proud of that because I wrote that over the week, and I wasn't sure if I was actually going to be able to do it because I hadn't ever experienced any kind of CV work before, but so I was proud of myself for being able to figure that out. So that is one thing that I'm happy with myself for.
Okay, we're gonna transition a little bit to talking about CS Academy here. So why did you guys join CS Academy to begin with?
So I first heard about CS Academy because our assistant dean, Tom Cortina, sends out a list of CMU related opportunities every once in a while. And so that's when I first heard about it. And so I read a little bit more into it, and I was really interested because one of the problems that CS Academy was tackling was sort of the bridge between like middle and early high school versus AP Computer Science, and how everything kind of like pre-APCS is like fun, graphical, interesting. And then you get to APCS, and this was my high school experience. The AP Computer Science programs that we were doing were really boring. Like they were all these text-based, like input a number and it will compute the factorial, or like input some numbers and it would do the taxes or something. Like it was really, I still kind of enjoyed programming, but it was definitely not nearly as interesting as it could have been. And so seeing this thing that was filling in this gap that I hadn't even really realized was there, but as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh my God, this is like exactly what I think was needed for me and probably for a lot of people. So that was what really motivated me.
See, for me, like I said earlier, I took my first like actual in-depth programming class last spring, and then my professor sent out this email, like kind of like Johnny, but that had the opportunity for CS Academy internship, so I applied through there. Like taking the course, I really enjoyed programming. I wasn't sure if it was like the professor that was really good or like just me enjoying computer science. So I just wanted more exposure to it. So I thought it was like a great opportunity. And also just like CS Academy having like what they want to do, the mission behind it is just like so great too. So I'm really glad that I made the decision.
So I also heard about CS Academy first through an email from this professor, but I guess there were kind of a lot of reasons why it interested me. One definitely being that I wish I had more exposure to computer science when I was in high school. I felt like I would have been just a lot more prepared coming to college and jumping into classes like 112. So it was partly that, and then I also felt like it combined really well interests that I already had. So like, of course, my interest in computer science, but also my interest in like teaching, because I've done a lot of work just like tutoring kids, TAing at a summer camp, things like that. So I felt like it combined those two things really well.
So what is the most useful skill that you learned while working on CS Academy? Karen?
That's a tough one. I guess a big one, like in my past internships that I've done, those were more like leadership oriented, I guess. So like I was in charge of a classroom, or like I was in charge of doing something, or more individual work, I guess. But I feel like CS Academy has been a lot more team focused, which has been a really cool thing to work on. So I've been, working with other members of my team to plan projects. We've like made videos. Johnny and I were making a video together this summer. Yeah, so just like kind of collaborating with other people, that's been a really big thing.
In terms of learning, I'd say like my biggest thing is probably like participating in like a project that already had like thousands of lines of code before, and like just trying to understand and read through it. And like going in, obviously there was a lot of things that I didn't know, and just like being able to pick up like the skills as I go and being okay with like not knowing and asking questions is probably my biggest thing.
I think for me, almost the opposite of Karen in a way. When we did the professional developments this summer and going into this year, I I was, I think, one of the few team members who had actually experienced a professional development before, since I had been there the previous summer. And so most of us didn't really know what was going on that much, like what it was going to be like, myself included. But I think since I at least had a little more of an idea, people were like, so what's the deal there? And so I think I kind of had a bit of a leadership role that I took on. And then from doing the professional developments, I think I also grew a lot as a teacher, and that's something I'm still like definitely benefiting from. I'm a teaching assistant for one of my classes this semester, and also actually teaching my own course. We have a Stuco student-led course offering at CMU, which is really cool. So I actually have a class I'm teaching for credit as a pass-fail class. And so both of those things, definitely CMU helped prepare me for those, especially the challenges of leading an online setting, an online classroom, since that's what the professional developments were this summer.
All right, we got another question from earlier here. A student wanted to know if we could code 3D objects in CS Academy. Does anyone have an idea of how we could do that?
Yeah, so it's definitely like, as far as coding in 3D is generally concerned, it's not going to be exactly the same because generally when you're coding something in 3D, you'll actually make like a 3D model and you'll be kind of working in a different space. And so the CS Academy platform, the canvas is 2D fundamentally. So if you want to do something in 3D, it is going to be challenging. But there's ways you can kind of create the illusion of 3D in the same way. And so I think the CS2 art modules actually have a little bit about this in the new CS2 course that's being piloted right now. But some of the things you can do is like you can use a group and you can kind of stretch it, and that will kind of create the illusion of turning. And there was actually in the Creative Task Challenge video, there's a really nice example of someone had like a Star Wars ship of some sort. I actually not sure what it's called exactly, but it like rotates around and you can kind of see a really neat example of that, and it has that 3D illusion.
Yeah, do you, Andrew or Karen, have any additional thoughts on 3D in our framework? Yeah, all right. I didn't necessarily expect to. Yeah, normally if you're using 3D, you're using something built specifically for working with 3D, because as Johnny mentioned, it's really difficult. And to get it accurate, there's a lot of math. And so you generally want to use something that does the math for you so you don't have to do it. All right. What's your favorite part about working on the CS Academy team? We'll start with Karen this time, I think.
So my favorite part has been running the teacher development sessions. I mean, like I mentioned earlier, I just really enjoy teaching. I find it really rewarding. Just like when you're working really hard to explain something that someone's confused about it, and then they like finally just have that moment of understanding. I feel like that's so cool. So I've really enjoyed being part of those and leading those professional development sessions.
For me, it's probably the people. I feel like at CS Academy, like everyone who works here is pretty like welcoming and nice. And also like if you're like kind of motivated, there's like so much opportunity for you to do stuff. So that's been really nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like split between both of those worlds where definitely I've really enjoyed the professional development sessions, especially because teachers are like incredibly motivated and like mutually helpful. And that's just like really awesome to witness when you're leading the professional development. And then on the other hand, like the CS Academy team, like everyone on it is one, super nice, and then two, super like smart, hardworking, etc. And so like everyone I meet on the team, everyone I work with, I'm inspired by, and it's just really awesome to be a part of that.
Yeah, I agree. People for sure. Yeah. All right. Got, I think, 2 more questions here. So how do you balance working on CS Academy with all of your coursework and your social life in college?
I'm pretty bad at that, so it's definitely a struggle. That's part of the reason why there's a few people on the team who are able to balance somehow, to like my complete mystification, being a teaching assistant and being on CS Academy and working both of those jobs during the semester. So personally, I knew that that wasn't going to be something I could manage. And so I guess one of the answers is just making sure that you balance the rest of your life appropriately around like the kind of things you're also going to be doing as work.
Right. I don't know if I'm being able to balance all the workloads, but one thing I do is like just it's difficult for me to like make time and like have a time where I completed all my assignments and like had social time and then work on CS Academy. So like I try just to forget about some like schoolwork and social aspects while I'm working on CS Academy and just put in hours to it throughout my week as much as possible.
So I know one problem I have for sure is just overcommitting to things in general. So I feel like this is definitely something I'm still working on, but just being okay with like saying, no, I can't do this thing this weekend. I have like too much other stuff on my plate. I feel like that's really important to learn how to like pick and choose the things you like want to do and the things you're able to do in the amount of time that you have.
Okay, so our last question is going to be a fun one. What's your favorite CS Academy exercise?
I'm a Harry Potter fan, so I like the Expelliarmus.
From Unit 7 in CS1. Unit 8 in CS1.
It's hard. I'm trying to go through the exercises. Johnny, do you have one off the top of your head?
Yeah, but I'm torn between two worlds. So I feel like I'm obligated to say the porcupine or porcupine/hedgehog exercise. That's an incredibly cute exercise that actually was kind of underappreciated on the team. So there's a lot of exercises that are really cute, like these characters that are cute that get a lot of love on the team, like Puffy Penguin. But the porcupine was kind of like going unnoticed. So this summer, uh, with Helen, another member of the team, we started the Porcupine Appreciation Club. And so we have brought porcupine emotes to the Slack, and we are starting a movement, and we're actually going to surpass Puffy Penguin, I believe, by 2021.
Yeah, all the animals are cute. I like the owl too. There's like a owl eyes movement in Unit 3. I'm not sure. But it's like super simple, but then it's just really cute how it works. Also, like just doing the professional development week. I'm on the web development team, so I usually don't have too much interaction with the exercises. But then just having like going through the exercises, I think it's super cool how the content team makes all of it.
Elliot, what's yours?
This might be an unpopular decision. It's none of the cute animals. It's Inchworm in Unit 2. First exercise I made where I was like, I actually know what I'm doing with this one. And it made me laugh. It still makes me laugh. So yeah. All right. That'll end our Q&A today. This is the last one this week, and we won't be having any next week. So thank you for watching, listening in. Thank you to our students here for answering these questions. And have a nice rest of your day, everybody.